Well, welcome. I'm Liz Dewart. I'm the wellness coordinator for the district. And I'm Greta Huntley. I'm the community resource coordinator with the city of Maple Valley. The Tahoma Family Academy was created just because we had lots of families that were in need of some different information, skills, around lots of different things. So, what we're going to use this time for is as needs come up in the community, as parents are asking, we'll have just different teaching times. Feel free to go. I am gonna record this just so you have it. It's just facing here. It's not facing you, so it won't get any names or anything like that. But just so we can get Beth's amazing teaching, and you can look back at it if you'd like to later. I wanted to share a couple things here. There we go. So agenda tonight from 6:30 until about 7:15, probably 7:30. Beth is gonna do her thing. And then I'm sure you'll have questions and as we go through. There were some questions that were asked on the registration form, so we'll go through those at the end. At 7:30, there is a PTA meet and greet. So if you would like to go to that, you are more than welcome. If you'd like to hang here and keep asking questions more of kind of the psychoeducational realm, then you're more than welcome to do that too. So kind of nice both events are at the same night and same place, so you can do the hit up both, right? Yes. I mean, it didn't happen that way on purpose. However, it worked out really good. So if you do have nuts and bolts questions, they're down there and to help out. One of the programs from that the district and the city partner with is called Care Solace, and it is a care coordination service that will get families care in substance abuse, mental health, counseling, and social services. And so that's a free service to all staff, students, families, and then the staff's families. So it's a pretty cool thing. I'll let you talk a little bit about partnership.
Sure. Yeah. So the city and the school district have this really great wellness partnership that we joined forces about 5 years ago when my position and Liz's position were created. So we work really closely together to bring mental health and wellness resources and programs to our community. Care Solace is a great example of that. It's something that we just launched last October. And it's the first time that a city and a school district has come together to provide this to their community for everyone for free in the country. So there are, over 1,000 different communities that offer this Care Solace, and we're the first one to do this partnership. And I keep us just a great example of how communities and schools are stronger when we can come together, partner on these kinds of things. If you were here earlier, you heard our slogan, Better Together, cue the Jack Johnson song. And so we offer all kinds of different programs, including support groups for parents that also facilitates. And I think that you may have a slide on that. Did you say you have? No. Okay. I like that. Or yourself. Hush on it. Yeah. So support groups for parents with neurodiverse students that we offer several times throughout the year. We also fund a partnership with Wise Social Impact that staffs therapists in our middle schools. So there'll be a one-day week wise social therapist in each of our middle schools, which is pretty cool, bringing in resources to remove those barriers for students and families to get some extra support right here at school. So with that, shall we turn it over to us and let's get going?
Hi, happy Tuesday, guys. Beth and I'm going to come sit out there, so I'm not after all by myself since it's a small group tonight. And I'm one of you because I have a fifth grader who's going into sixth grade, and so I am participating in this time frame. And I don't know about you all, but hormones are hitting our household, and they might win. Family therapists have been for a long time, and I have been working with this partnership the last few years, and it's been fantastic. It's been one of the best things that I've done in my life, and it's been really impactful for me. So I'm really excited to be doing this. And so we're going to talk about transition to middle school. And to do that, we have to kind of understand adolescents. We got to know what these little alien creatures are before we can talk about how to support them. I have ADHD, so don't worry if you raise your hand and have a question. I'm going to go down that rabbit hole with you, and it'll be a great time. But I have developed the skill to bring us back around, so I won't let us get lost in the rabbit hole, but I do really well. just asking questions as they come up. And so that being said, what kind of questions do you have now about middle school, about the transition? What because I will make a note of them. It's my hope to get to all of those. Some of them might be answered in some misinformation that I had to make. But kind of like, what are your fears? What are your worries? What are your curiosities about this time for our kids? Yeah.
There seems to be a lot of posts on like the TSD discussion page and other community pages about bullying. And Summit Trail comes up more often than Mapleview Middle School, I'll say, and those guys. And I know those can be loaded because it's like you don't have all the facts, but
Yeah.
that makes me slightly nervous.
Yeah. Cliques, so for groups, we'll touch a little bit on that. I don't know to have anything specifically directed at bullying, but I think we can work some of it in. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
What else? Yeah, my son has ADHD and he's all over his executive function use. I'm a little worried about him coming here, right? Like in transitioning the classes, and he's gonna have to manage he has to improve his time management dramatically, right? So I think what are the support in place? We have an IEP for him, but it's just that he's set up for success, but also there's accountability, right? I think some of the things that I've seen in elementary school is different than when I went when I'm old. There was no grades, right? Like you turn in late and all that. So it's just understanding like it seems more consequential now, starting at this point. So I want to make sure he's set up for success, but then he has to feel the consequence as well. So is that balancing act?
Yes. Yeah. We will definitely cover some of that. Thank you. Other questions, worries, curiosities about this transition? Yeah.
So, my daughter in elementary school for like third and fourth grade struggled a lot with anxiety and going to school, like doing difficult assignments. And basically, she just would freeze up and like either not go to school or not do anything. So she's a lot better this year in fifth grade, but I'm just concerned it could flare up again transitioning to this new
right and wave of expectations rising, right? But that is definitely a thing. Yeah, that's something we'll definitely touch on. Anybody else have any questions? And you want to make sure we touch on? I asked all my questions 3 times, so that's why you're going to hear me say a lot. Well, if they come up, let me know. I don't know if you guys know about these little magical devices. It's called the time timer. And me having ADHD, I do not comprehend time well. So this little magical device has been help, in theory, keep me to 4 to 5 minutes. Shh. We'll see. It was great for neurodivergent kiddos. And when I do some trainings in the schools and teachers get this, it has a tremendous impact. So if you're having a hard time with time management in the mornings, these things can have a big impact. All right. Let's talk about adolescence. So that's the phase that our kids are entering into, adolescence. And so this is a model that I'm using for Erik Erikson. He developed this in the 40s, 50s, 60s, somewhere in there. And when we're talking about the stage that middle school is in, it's adolescence, identity versus role confusion. And we'll talk about what that means. But basically, Erikson summarizes all of these different stages as there is a conflict that's happening within us during this time frame. And then at the end, there's a virtue that we gain. I don't know if you guys had the app when kids were little, and that would have like, there's some cloud or a sunshine or a rain cloud, and tell you what developmentally they were working on in their brain. So if your infant was a little more fussy and you knew it wasn't a rain cloud, you understood why, because they were working on something in their brains. And then when they got out of it, they'd have a new trick they could do. And that pattern actually continues throughout our lifetime. We just don't have the apps that follow us because it's not quite as significant or not as frequent. It's not quite as frequent as when they're little. But about every 6 months, if you notice a change in your kiddos around their birthday and around 6 months after their birthday, they get a little moody because their brains are going through a leap. And that is helpful for me when I'm good is going on with the kids because I don't understand. And then after a couple of weeks, they develop a new trick. So adolescence, that's what we're dealing with for this age group. And I promise I won't read a lot of slides because I don't like that. But this one I will read because I love it. Adolescence. The adolescent mind is essentially a psychosocial stage between childhood and adulthood where the morality learned by the child and the ethics to be between the morality learned by the child and the ethics to be developed by the adult. So what does that mean? I had to look up the difference between morality and ethics. Anybody have any ideas? So morality is in us. It's our morals, our value system. And ethics are how that is play out in the community. Often, like when I have my licensing board, there's an ethics committee, and I have certain ethics guidelines that I have to follow. So it is the community placing kind of community morals around what I view. So this time frame in our kids' lives is all about this development of identity and what it's going to look like out in the world.
Was it like values is the morality, the actions is the ethics, what you're saying?
Kind of, yeah. We can also argue that our values and morals drive our own behavior, right? But definitely we're influenced by community. And when we talk about ethics, it's more collectively. So the WHO defines adolescence as between 10 and 19. And that you're going to see generally that age group listed. Except, I'll put a star here, that there's a new push in psychology realms to extend adolescence to age 24 or 25. Because that's when the prefrontal cortex is actually finished developing around age 24 and 25. And I like to put that asterisk there because I think when we expect 18, 19-year-olds to be able to manage adult topics or adult issues, it's not really fair because their brain is not an adult brain yet. So most people will say between 10 and 19. That may change. I hope it does. I like to think of extended adolescence through age 25. And these are kind of some of the things that we experience in adolescence. Our bodies are changing. Our hormones are running rampant. We're starting to feel attraction to other people. We go from hanging out generally with same-sex friends to expanding our friend group. And somehow, if my daughters have mostly girlfriends, it's going to start expanding into having girlfriends and boyfriends. Cognitive changes. So they are developing the ability to understand really abstract thinking. Love, morals, freedom. And while they're doing this, they're also developing the ability to think about scientific reasoning and to put their ideas into action and test them, perform hypotheses. So they're coming up with these abstract ideas, and now they can argue them. And it kind of creates these little gremlins that have a lot of really strong opinions about some abstract ideas, and they want to fight you on it. Because they've got it all figured out. These ideas are solidifying in their heads. They want to talk about it because they know what they're doing. And so they get they're a little egocentric. They're a little selfish. And they should be, because they are thinking about themselves, really forming their identity and laying a path for what it's going to look like going forward as they enter into adulthood. And I think one of the interesting things is that there's a failure to differentiate between what others are thinking and what they're thinking. And so Erickson, he has a phrase, I'll make sure I get it, the imaginary audience. And when we were in middle school, first off, who enjoyed middle school? Treevy had a friend. There's three that I met. Middle school is hard for a reason. And when we were going through middle school, we developed that imaginary audience where we would guess how people are going to think about us, what they would say, what they would think, how we dressed, how we looked like. And as I was researching this, I thought it would be really interesting to rethink this because now the audience isn't imaginary with social media, right? And so what was once in our heads is now on screen, and we have even more evidence because we're not just thinking it, but we can point to how many likes we have. We can point to how many followers we have. We can point to how many people are making comments about the stuff that we put on social media. So I think this is even harder now, being able to differentiate self from others. So thoughts on adolescence and kind of what's going through the little brains and bodies. Any questions on this? Any new information? Pretty much what you thought about Geo's fall.
That is validation for what my kid is going through right now.
Yeah, you need through. Yeah. It's the having their own ideas and arguing that they're really starting to push back. Anybody else noticing that? Yeah.
We be bad to write you, bro.
I mean, it's kind of. I welcome challenges to re-examine my own position. They just don't necessarily hear me. What else? Oh, this imaginary audience and this self-focus, this egocentrism, it is also, it leads to this thinking of, I alone am experiencing this. Nobody else knows what I'm going through. Nobody else can get. Nobody else understands. And it becomes very dramatic and it's very real for them. And I think a consequence of that too is that then there's more, they're more engaged in risk taking because they think that the negative consequences aren't going to happen to them. I'm special. I am unique. I'm different from everybody else. Therefore, I'm going to be safe. And so this is kind of where we see more risks being taken. Questions? Going faster tonight, Liz. Doing it. Here I did this. This next slide is why middle school sucks. And if you haven't gone into middle school, it's going to be great. You're going to love it. It's going to be fantastic. But it can be challenging. Yep, Mommy. Because our kiddos are walking contradictions. They are really concerned with their own identity and they want to stand out. At the same time, they want to blend in. They're stable and make sense. And then they have these huge emotional waves. Right? And this is all happening inside of these bodies that are changing. So there's a lot going on in the brains and bodies of these middle schoolers, these adolescents, and it's easy to brush it off, right? Because I don't know that we really understand what's going on for them. Their worlds are changing, their bodies are changing. Everything's different. So that push-pull that I was talking about with Erickson, like there's this struggle, this internal struggle that they're working on, which is why this time in particular, adolescents, we see all these contradictions because they're trying to figure out this stuff that's on the inside. But the payoff for that, the virtue that comes from this internal struggle is fidelity. and we might want to take a stab at what that means. I had to Google it.
That's being true to yourself, your core values.
Absolutely. What? Not so good with the clicker. Fidelity, the ability to be true to oneself and to others. So they are forming their identity. They're identifying their values, what's important to them, and think of that as the foundation. They're working on their foundation as a transition to adulthood, and on that solid foundation, that's where we're going to build relationships with others. So in our last group where we had a parent was talking about how middle school kind of sets the pathway for the future. And in a lot of ways, that's true. And why this time in life is pretty important. And it's hard because they're changing, right? And they kind of turn into these little gremlins that we don't really know. And sometimes they argue back and they are a little full of themselves. But the stuff they're working on is really important and can have long-lasting implications. And I don't say that to stress you out. I say that to excite you. Because how cool is that? Our kids are developing their sense of self, their identity, and really developing that foundation of who they are, who they want to be. And that is awesome. And we get to be part of it. And the more we're part of it, actually, the studies have shown that that has longer lasting positive implications. So we'll talk about what it means to be a part of it. Questions about the internal struggle or the virtue that comes out of it? Do you believe it? I'm just trying to convince you that it's going to be great. Alpha. I'm a therapist, so I can outweigh you on the quiet game. Really good. So we're a tough crowd.
One thing involves, I got another 6 years of this.
This is early adolescence. So I'm really focusing on early adolescence. And I'm doing a talk next week about transition to high school. So you just have the next few years, next 3 years to worry about the early adolescence. And then we'll talk about the differences of that made when we're all ready to go there. Okay. Make sure I hit all my talking points. I don't know if you guys have ever wondered why there isn't a handbook for parenting. I always think that mine got lost in the mail. And how much easier thing it would be if there was a handbook. I found one. This is the first time ever in my career I've been able to talk about a handbook for parenting. And it is through MIT and this project called the Raising Teens Project. And put it over here. So if there's one thing that you take away tonight, Google this. But y'all are lucky that I have a copy for all of you from some of the main parts. And then literally just, I like how they break it down into different sections. There's 5 are basics of parenting teens, I think is the first part of it. And then it breaks down what all those basics are and situations that you can use these parenting ideas in. And so there hasn't been a handbook up until this time, but there is now. And the reason I like this too is because all of this is grounded in studies. It's all clinically relevant. I think you have to be really careful about where we pull internet information from the internet. And I trust MIT. So I encourage you to take a look at this. I like a lot of the wording that they use. So they break it down into the 5 parts, 5 things, 5 basics. And I love the little ones. They say, most things about the world are changing. Don't let your love be one of them. Right? And if there's ideas and suggestions for how to maintain connection, because these little egotistical little gremlins, part of their job right now is to pull away. Pull away. but at other times they're going to still want to be next to you, right? And so navigating that as a parent is not going to be easy because they're going to be contradicting themselves. But to have some ideas of how to balance that separation and yet remain connected is huge. And those of you who know me, you know that I think everything is all about connection. And if we can remain connected to our adolescents, do any parenthood, honestly, because it's a hard time for everybody. And I think that some of the insights here can really help on that, maintain that. Give you permission to monitor your team's activities, right? Not spy on them, but monitor them. What does that mean? How can you protect their privacy and encourage to not keep secrets? Because there's a difference between secrets and privacy. So how can we talk about it? How can we monitor some of their stuff without them feeling like we're intruding on their privacy? Loosen up, but don't let go. How do you do that? When you're walking with something and you trip and you feel like you're going to drop it, we grab onto it really tightly, right? And as our little adolescents are turning into gremlins, we don't know who they are, we're afraid we're going to lose them. Our default as parents is hold on tight and not to drop it, which is hard because, again, it pulls it away until they're not. So I hope that you guys get some things from this. I didn't print off all the pages, but I think I printed off the ones that are most applicable and have the best info. And it's always nice to have, to be affirmed that they still care. And they do. They just be hush. They're not going to be the little snugglebugs that they used to be. Because their imaginary audience would not approve of that. And I think it all comes down to communication. Communication is not easy. So how would you say communication is going for you all now? Is it something that's going well, is strong? Is it something that's always been a challenge? What kind of grade would you give yourself and your family for communication?
Maybe about 6.
Let's say so.
Skill 10.
A scale of 10. What would you say is going well with your communication now?
So we can actually get our daughter open up for a lot of conversation as like friends to friends, a lot of things that just still little kids that I just ask for very basic needs. And she could talk about a lot of ideas.
Yeah.
But like you mentioned, if they are not paying attention or seems like they don't care, when that happens, she would just remain silent all the time. So through all the conversation is kept silent. Yeah. You don't know what they're thinking. It means you talk.
Well, thanks for being brave enough to share. Yeah. How the rest of you feel on communication?
I find that the best time for my son to open up is just right before the bedtime. Lying down and you lie next to him and he feels relaxed and drifting to sleep. But that kind you ask how your day was. And sometimes he'll be willing to share because I'm not trying to say he's at his most vulnerable, but absolutely. Then he just wants to share a little bit here and there. And those are the moments that we try to catch. So instead of asking a lot of questions right after he gets off school, is we just let him enjoy his day. And then I'll tell the bedtime. That's when we talk and check it.
And that's when you get all the dish.
Yeah. For me, but mostly he goes to dad. Because I feel like the son usually calls the dad more than mom these days.
No, my spouse saying she snuggles the girls at night before they go to bed. And man, the stuff that she gets out of them is stunning to me. And that is a great time to do it. It's calm and relaxing. There's not a lot of pressure.
Yes.
Yeah. How about the rest of you? Thoughts on communication and how it's going? Did you have the talk yet? The birds and the bees talk? Yeah. How did that go?
Well, but I think I made sure you knew I was like grateful that he felt it was that plus like 5 other very complicated questions. It wasn't just the first. So I wanted to hit the driving home force. I wanted him to be okay asking those questions and know he could ask us anything, no matter what. And strangely enough, the same week I had that with my 9-year-old who was like, this really bad word was off about, and then Loka, tell me about it. No, don't get in trouble. I'm like, I'm the mom. Like, you can tell me. So it was very similar, but on like a lesser level. So yeah.
What about for the rest of you? You had the talk yet? How'd it go? Because I think that is one place that pushes our communication skills and comfort levels.
I'm delaying that talk. I'm delaying that talk.
Oh, they're already having it. They're up there.
It's awkward. I mean, it is so awkward. It's cultural dynamics, right? Because, I'm from Boy, my wife's from Japan, so there's different norm that we talk to. Like, I just allude to like so many different things. So there's a lot of things that are left unsaid. There's a comfort level to it. My family pretty open about that topic, but my wife would be like, why are you doing that, right? So I think we're balancing that out. But we do try to keep the communication going. Like dinner time is like no devices, no TV, nothing, and it's just conversation. But got ourselves at the age where it's like, all right, he's gonna tell you what he tells you, and that's it, right? And you ask him how your day, all right, what'd you do today?
I don't know. You did that? I don't know. That's tough. Anybody else want to look at? How was your day? I did tonight right before I came here. And I think once you have the talk, it's not over after you have it, because then you get all kinds of questions. Came home one night after a group that I had, and I walked in to tell Ella, our third one in the middle school, take a night to her, and she's like, Mommy, I have a question. It's like, all right. And it was about a very specific sexual act. I was not prepared for that anymore. I was going to go in and say goodnight. And I was like, well, here we go. We're doing it. We're having this conversation, right? Because you never know when it's going to pop up. But I think feeling confident in your ability to communicate and correct or address your failures in communication too go a long way with adolescents. So I have a model of communication that I have been in. I taught this model 15 years or keeping it. It is comes out of supporting the folks with substance use disorder and cerebral addiction. But I have found it to be the best model for communication, and I can't not use it. It's become a part of just how I communicate. And one of the reasons why I like it is because it's not real complex, and there are not very many rules. So it's called the PIUS model of communication, PIUS. P, state what you want in a positive way. Don't leave your shoes out. Don't leave your dishes on sink. Put them in the dishwasher, right? We get frustrated. Our fuses aren't very long. And sometimes we start barking orders. And we often lead with what not to do. Or just a simple change of what you want them to do. And try, you don't have to blow sunshine up anybody's bum. Just try not to be negative. Stay what you want. Try to be pleasant. Which can be hard. But stating what you want, I think, just can be a switch. I stands for I statements. We'll talk about those a lot. U stands for understanding statements. We'll talk about those a lot. And the last one, share responsibility or offer to help. So this is kind of what, when I say we have to go back and correct maybe some things that we did that we didn't handle very well or didn't communicate well, and you want to mull again, you want to try it again. Own your part of it, right? If there's a situation that happened, that there was a kerfuffle or a point of contention at home, you may have played a role in it. Own it. It's going to go a long way, especially with these little gremlins who are coming up with abstract thinking and can use a scientific method to argue their points. If they get a hint of hypocrisy, toast. They're gonna chew you up. You're gonna flex those new scientific method skills and really destroy your hypothesis because they have their own. But if you can own your part in it, first off, that's great modeling. And that shows that you don't have all the answers. Even though my kids ask if I know everything, I always tell them yes. But we don't have all the answers. And we don't do everything perfectly the first time. And sometimes we wish we could go back and change things. And so I think even just doing that, there's no time limit on it. 2 years ago when you and I got in this big fight, I still feel really bad about what I said about the person you were dating because it just wasn't fair of me to do that. Even though it's 2 years later, to know that I'm still thinking of it and it still weighs on me and I care enough to tell you, that's a big deal. It's really validating for whomever we're talking with. So even if it's something that happened a long time ago, it's okay. Or if it happened last week, it's okay. You can always come back to it. It always feels good. So this is kind of like graduate school of communication, the last one. I'm sharing responsibility. So if you don't have any responsibility in it, ask if you can help. Hey, I can't fix that. Well, can I help in any way? But the two places that if you want to have successful communication, if you just do I statements and understanding statements, you cannot go wrong. Cannot go wrong. Understanding statements. We're going to start with that one. What do you think that means?
Whenever you empathize, but you're like, that must have been really hard for you, or you say sorry that happened, or
Empathy. Yeah. Understanding is empathy. And so what is empathy?
Acknowledging someone's thought, like acknowledging your feeling, but I think that is.
Yeah. I think of empathy as like you are in their body looking at the world through their eyes. And the thing about understanding statements, otherwise known as empathy, the best thing about it is you don't have to agree with it. I get that red is your favorite color and it makes you so happy. He's clearly wrong, right? But it doesn't matter because I'm talking about your perspective of the world and the importance that it is to you. Whereas the rest of us know that blue is literally the best color. But understanding statements, you're showing someone that you get it from their perspective, which is going to be hard for our adolescents because we may not understand their perspective. Because their perspective is kind of messed up right now with that push and pull that's going on inside of them. But the great thing, another great thing about the understanding statements is that it's okay if you're wrong. If you guess at what you think they're going through and you're wrong, most likely they're going to correct you and tell you what it is. No, I'm not sad. I'm frustrated. That gives you more information. And it's not a knock against you're saying you know. Because it always feels good when people are thinking about us and demonstrating that. And if you lead with empathy or an understanding statement, walls come down. A lot of times when communication is hard, we've got walls up because we don't want to be hurt, right? We don't, it's defensive. Especially if we're coming at you, pick up your shoes. Like anytime you can be interpreted as wagging your finger at somebody, their walls are going to go up. It's human nature. And if we lead with empathy, those walls come down. Another reason to lead with empathy is how long do you think you have before your kids tune you out? Because there are studies about it. Come on, somebody guess.
Or change.
Doesn't matter. Let's do adolescence. Take adolescence. Soon, 13, 14. Yeah. How long do you think you have when I tell say something to you? Spend from how much time do you think you have before they decided whether or not they're going to listen to you? But you can 10 seconds, 5 seconds. Other thoughts? 30 seconds. 2. This is scowl on your picture. 30 seconds. They've listened.
It depends. My third grader, 15 seconds.
But my fifth grader, 2 minutes. You'll listen to both of 8 seconds. So 30 seconds.
7 seconds. Oh. You have 7 seconds to get your point across before they've decided if they're going to chew you out or not. And if you're neurodivergent, like I am, or your kids are neurodivergent, we're going to take 3 seconds out of that, so you've got 4. Here's 7 seconds. 1 sentence. You get 1 sentence. So use it well. And if you lead with understanding, that might just be the thing that gets you to buy. This seconds, not harm.
Was that apply for a girl or boy?
Yeah.
So,
And I forget the age of the study that the kids were, so I just use it as a general rule of thumb. And the 4 seconds for the neurodivergent, that's just me and my crafty math. That is nowhere, that has not been studied. Understanding statements. Live and die by them. I statements. What's an I statement?
A simple way you should be just to say you did something wrong or you should do that. Instead, I should say I want to see that like the table to be clean. This is my need.
It's my need. You need to do this. You should. Wrong road, big code. Shut it down. Nothing good's going to happen there, right? And it's, instead of coming at them, I need this. This is what I want. And the brilliant thing about I statements, we usually talk about our feelings or our experiences. And the best thing about I statements is they can't be argued. Because I can't argue your feelings. And I can't argue your experience. Because your feelings are never wrong, your experience is never wrong. So these little scientists, these little budding scientists that want to argue, they actually can't argue this. Because they don't get to tell us that our feelings are wrong. So if you live in understanding statements and I statements, I think you will notice a improvement in communication. It's a lot easier. Oh, and once you start doing it, it's hard to turn it off. So these things don't need to be done in order. They don't need to be done. You don't even do both of them. If you can just remember to use one at a time until you get better at it, just do that. So you can't mess it up. All you can do is practice. So I have some families that will put this up on the fridge, or if they know they're going to have a hard conversation, they'll put it out on the table when they have the family meeting and encourage everybody to use it. So this is a model I swear by. Questions about communication, thoughts on the model?
It's good. I don't really think this is just between parents and teens. This can be between dating one. Yeah.
All the time. Yeah. It becomes your default. It has become the way I communicate because I do it a lot. It's my job. Yeah. Other thoughts?
I've used I statements before, and my son is, I don't care what you like. I need you to do this. I don't care what you need. I want to do this. He's giving me his own statements. Like,
He's wrong. He's right. What you need may not be what he needs. So need and should, 2 words to really watch how you use it. I encourage you strike him from your vocabulary. He's absolutely right. He doesn't care what you need, especially now. But I need him to clean his room. He beats to motives and wanted to clean his room. Is the expectation that he cleans his room. Right? And so just those simple phrases is the difference between a wall up and actually hearing it. Because what you need, done. He's already tuned up. He doesn't know the second interface. But it's the expectation that you hear. That's a different message. I'm with you. I wish that like my kids just knew what I needed and would just do it. But as they get older, they fight back against it a lot harder. Thanks for letting me pick on you a little bit.
No, you're free. There's no shame in my. I think my person being very like, I'm super organized. So him and I are like different parallels, right? Like he's random, like you can tell him what he needs to do, and then like 2 seconds, like 4 seconds is real. Just find him down in 4 seconds yourself, right? So I'm like telling him like this, what you need to get done in the day, right? And that just, and even then I'm nagging and I'm mature for nagging him, right? Like
that's hard because they don't remember it. But if you're not providing new information, then they are just nagging. Like nagging doesn't go well for anyone. So how do you do that? Right? How do you be worried? Here's a get out of jail free card. Hey, I have some thoughts on organization. If you ever want to talk about it, let me go. I'm having a hard time not helping you with your organization. Make it about you. I see you're struggling with that, and I really want to help you. So if we can offer it up, gives them the option of accepting it or not. And that's what we can do is we can offer it up. Whether or not they take it. This is the time where they're going to flex, and they're probably, sometimes they're not going to take it just on principle. Because again, that push pull going on inside. But as we get older and as we as parents transition from parent to more coach, this is the thing we can do is we can offer it up. My favorite Peloton instructors, I provide options, you make decisions. I think that summarizes a lot of this. Am I running late?
No, you're good. Maybe a stomach issue, which is why I'm over here. So I'm so sorry. And I would love to be sitting with you, but this one's helping me. Sorry about that. I was school counselor for a long time at the level, and if you got things that he gets to do, writing them down, and then giving that time frame so it's on paper, because especially
they're not going to remember what you said past. I need you to, and then they're thinking about something else.
So it can, and kind of stacks of 3. So uses 3 things I need to do by this time. That's helpful for them to have that down on paper.
Not in neurodiversity kids, one thing at a time. Because 3 is overwhelmed.
They're not sure I think it's upper kids. So
Okay, well, I was just geeking out for my people. Yeah.
I'm thinking that probably for every kid that's helpful. They're thinking about so much.
Your neurodivergent kids are not going to be able to hold 3 people in their head. They're going to forget it by the time they walk across her. Start with one, and then come back. What's the next
I found positive rewards. Like, what do you like? Do you want ice cream? Right? Not that it's ice cream, but something that you want. That's the lever that I use now, because at the end of the day, it wears you out, right? Like you're constantly nagging or jumping on him. So then it's like giving him something to reach for. Like, you want this, that this needs to get done. And I agree with you. It's one thing at a time. I can.
Yeah. I have to now like make sure that I'm drawing myself back so we can get buy-in from it. Especially with neurodivergent kids. And I don't think this generalizes to all kids. Consequences are not that effective. And you're going to get a whole lot more with carrot over the stick. Right? And some people might think that's bravery. I don't care. It works. And it works for my neurodivergent kiddo. But reward-based system, strength-based system, where we're coming at it and identifying people's strengths and really pumping them up is so much more effective and can really help with that connection than punishment. Especially for our neurodivergent kids, because really don't get touche about punishments. They're brave enough to come up with workarounds. So, yeah. Okay, so what are some things that we can do to help our kiddos as they transition into this time? And these are in no particular order, and I'm going to make all these slides available to Liz who could email them out so you'll have copies of all of this. So some of it is about logistics. Tonight, you're in the space that they're going to be. You're familiarizing yourself with the building You can talk to them about what it looks like, about what it feels like, what the lockers are. They're 3 high. Wonder where your locker is going to be, right? Any opportunity that you have to go to an open house or even bring a couple of friends, ride the bike up to the school and just pedal around it and look at the building so you familiarize yourself with the campus, because then it's going to be less intimidating when you're actually here. So anytime have the chance to do that, try and take advantage of it. When they get their class schedule, they're going to have a map it out. What's the pattern that they're going to need? What's the path? How are they going to get from one class to the next? That is a new experience. They don't know how to do it, and they got 5 minutes to do it. It's intimidating. And so really sitting down, making the time to talk about what the building looks like, to talk about what it's going to be like to have all these different teachers. What happens when you see a friend in the hall? All of that stuff. It's noisy in those halls. Our neurodivergent kids, that's going to be overwhelming. It's overwhelming for everybody, especially neurodivergent kids. Talk about it. Because if we can start talking about it instead of seeing it, won't be as stunning when it happens. Establish routines before school starts. The week before school is not the time to be with us. Take a little bit of a break when school is over. Give yourself a little bit of summer. Halfway through, start thinking about what the routines are going to be. And have it be collaborative. Talk about it together. Because again, that autonomy, that push-pull, if you incorporate them into the process of making the decisions, they're going to have a little bit of ownership. It might go better than you forcing it on them. So not just the morning routine and the evening routine, what's the homework routine? Are there extracurricular activities? What nights are those going to be on? What's the time? How are you going to get home after that? What's it going to look like? We'll walk through as many of the logistics as we can as possible. Put it up on the wall, up on the fridge, where everybody can see it. What's the family routine? Are there certain nights that we're definitely going to have dinner? Are there certain nights that it's going to be hard? Big day on your own. Just talk about it. It's a whole new ballgame for a lot of us. And it's going to impact the entire family. Social connections. I think this is one place. So middle school is hard. Middle school's great. You're going to love it. Parts of it are really hard. Part of it is those social connections, right? We don't know who we are, and we want to be an individual. Also, want to be part of the group, right? And so, to push on them a little bit, it's called safe risk taking. Somewhere in there. What else? Where is it? Third from bottom, 1, 2. Positive risk taking. There we go. Taking a risk within a safe environment. Pushing yourself out to hang with a new group. Try a new club. Badminton was tonight. We're already talking about badminton in our house. I wish I had badminton when I was in middle school. Like, what are the things that are opportunities? And our kiddos might not be too excited. Take it on. They might need a little bit of a push. And there are some places where we can encourage risk taking because it's safe. And so that's kind of a place to push. Oh my gosh, organization. You're going to need a lot of support from this, from their teachers. Some teachers are going to be better at it than others. But talk about organization. What's it going to look like? I highly, highly, highly recommend written planners, especially for our neurodivergent kiddos. To some extent, you're also going to need digital planners so that you know when the big dates of things are. They've not had to use them much. They're going to need some help. And so some of this is going to require more work on your end at the beginning of school and maybe this first year of middle school, but it's going to pay off in spades. So what does study time look like? Where do you study? What's the expectation around study? Clean out their backpacks every week. Not kidding. Stuff goes in there and dies. But some of it's important, and you don't know what Apple thing is going to be there. Might be really important. Get in the practice of doing that with them. Check Skyward. look to see where they are on all of their classes and where their assignments are. Are there any that are outstanding? Talk about it. Normalize this. Have a day of the week or 2 days a week. You can sit down and do this together. It takes more effort on your part. But we're developing these skills. Hopefully they can then build on, with the goal being that eventually they won't need you for it. But if we can help establish it now, this is a great time to do it. Launch pad or drop zone? Yeah, question.
So currently in our school, the fifth graders have a planner, and then the teacher kind of just guides them to writing it down. So for middle school, do they get a planner and then teacher will tell them to write?
Listen and get planners. Yeah. And so at 7:30,
There'll be some Q&A here too, but downstairs is PTA and they can enter a lot of the unavailability. Generally what PTA does, and they have a planner for every kid. So, and they have all the information there for kids, so they have it. Some teachers will make the kids get out and write it. That's probably a good routine for you guys to do at home.
So they kind of talk about that before the start of school. Hey, can every class write down what you did in that class or what's good, even if there's nothing. Something for every class. Just got something written down in your bag.
And that's just a time that you guys do at night, before dinner, after dinner. It's just like that's just the homework time. So when they come home from school, get a snack, hang out for a minute, you can go on 5 is. So 4:30 and bed 30 is homework time. It's where you at your mom sit down and just look at what they did the day, what they wrote down. That's really helpful for them to kind of compartmentalize. Had time usually about an hour. It's good for to have for homework. Sometimes it'll be less, maybe just a little bit more. But if they do use their time by as they in class, there's not generally a whole lot more other than that. That comes from at night. So, but about an hour is good for any cleanup from the day or the math homework like that.
Last thing I want to mention before we turn to all Q&A is fix it mode. And I think when we have kids, there's a switch in our brain that gets flipped, and we want to fix them up. That is our knee-jerk response as parents. And as our kids get older, well, first they'll tune us out and not listen to it because they expect it to a certain extent. But when we go into fix it mode, we keep them from experiencing the consequences or the failures or the struggles. We actually set them up for more of that. We're not giving them the opportunity to safely fail and to struggle. As a therapist, one of my go-to lines is, we don't change when we're comfortable. And if they're always comfortable because you're fixing it for them, they're not going to change and develop these skills. So you get to set the bar of where your threshold is about how far you'll let them fall before you intervene. By all means, do that. Give them a space where they can fail, when they can not be successful, so they can learn from it and change or grow from it. So it's hard as a parent. Did it to my daughter this week, right? And I caught myself, and I'm like, actually, what I just said, scratch that, right? Because that is our knee-jerk response. So be kind to yourself. Give yourself a little bit of grace, because this is a new relationship we have with these kids, these little gremlins. We haven't done this before. So some things we're going to rock, some things we're going to struggle. We all do. So there you go. Those are my suggestions for the transition. Hopefully the understanding of what adolescence is, what's going on inside of them, is helpful for kind of contextualizing their little worlds and helping us connect and relate to them. Because it really, for me, is all about connection. And so we can find ways to stay connected to them as they're pulled away. That is the thing that sets them up for a lifetime. They can't. Those patterns, those paths are starting to be formed right now. So this is a great time to do it because this is exciting. They're developing who they are. Remember, this is exciting. This is great. It's gonna be fun, right? Anyway, so if you guys ever have any questions, feel free to email me. and I'll do my best to get back to you as quickly as I can. I love doing these parent talks, and I got parents emailing me all the time. It would take me a couple of days to get back to you, but I will, because we're all in it together, right? I'm with you, and this is going to be hard. And sometimes we just need to know where our community is and where our people are. As parents, that can be hard to find. So if you guys have any questions, now's the time to ask. And then Liz also has a survey.
If you do head down to the PCA night, I would love your feedback so we can, this is our first time doing it, what would be helpful, what you learned, how we can do it better. Those are all great feedback. So hope you wouldn't mind doing that.
I also would love your feedback because I want to make sure this is helpful for you. And if it's not, then I want to change things up. You're not going to hurt my feelings if you're critical. I really appreciate it. If there's things that you think could get better.
Actually, why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Sean Gasser, the principal at Summit Trail Middle School. Thank you guys all for coming. Kind of here for multiple purposes, but one of these, our PTO has kind of a welcome night, a meet and greet for any incoming parents or current parents sub-trail, incoming parents sub-trail. But I know that as a father of kids that have gone through middle school, I'm really I continue to be optimistic about middle school as a great opportunity to work with kids and have a career in working with students this age. I often tell families that as these kids, it's 3 years in middle school, but I have almost 25 years working in middle school. And you learn some things along the way and are always willing to share. And the one thing is, you ever have a question at any of our Tahoma middle schools, I'm sure any Tahoma school, is to reach out, contact us, because you have people who are experienced veterans who have gone through their age brackets with all. I mean, we want to help. And so there are a lot of tricky situations that you might not think we deal with that we have. So just our counseling, our teachers, our admin teams, we're all here every day to try to help students. So appreciate you guys taking the time to be here, but also want to, after you do the feedback and answer any questions, is to invite you to come down and meet some of our PTO parents downstairs. We're going to start our presentation in a little bit.
One question for you, at the 6th grade, 8th grade parent night or parent teacher?
We had our 5th grade parent night last week. That was very crowded. And we will have, that was the first of 3 opportunities for kids to come around Summit Trail and look around. The next one is our Grizzly Days, and that's the 18th and I believe the 21st of August. And that's where our kids get their pictures. They sign up for events and clubs and activities and sign up to be a part of our PTO. And then the third one also is the day before school, and that's from 8 to 12 o'clock. And that's the 6th grade orientation, led by our 8th grade web leaders, and web stands where everyone belongs. It's a group of 90 kids and 5 staff members who are working solely to support, your students coming in from 5th grade to 6th grade. So really excited. Yeah. So anyways, if you have any questions, obviously you can ask them here, but we'll also be downstairs answering questions as well. All right. Well, thank you for the introduction. Appreciate it. He's down here.
Amen. You guys did have some questions that came in. Some of the nuts and bolts questions all transitioned for the downstairs. One of the ones was transitioning like an IEP needing individual teachers, and so it was at the night last night or not last week, the 5th grade. Do they have teachers there as well? They had a handful of teachers, but like had to be with hand. It's like we on that cut. It's like we were just meeting random teachers. Yeah, but we did meet. We found like counselor ready before last day. Okay, like there were 3 counselors. Okay, so you will have chances to meet your students' teachers. So, and they do a open house as well. Later on, right after school starts, where you'll be able to meet teachers right there. We did have a really good question. What if my student has an IEP and they're in special education classes? They're individual classes just like everybody else. So everybody goes through their first period, whether it's general ed or whether it's special education. So everybody has those 6 classes. And so it feels like everybody's just kind of going to their next class. So you're not being pulled out or things like that. Let's see. The 6th grade teachers are assigned generally at random unless there's some special requests or things like that you've already put into the counselors. But generally the students are assigned to teachers by the computer. So, and if there's any special things like, my kid can't be with this other kid or something like that, put those requests in for the counselors. And then they'll do their best to make all of that happen. How do I prepare my student for multiple class schedule routine? I think some of the things that we heard over here were really great. Definitely having a planner and writing down to do and what the assignments are, if there's anything missing. I think that making sure that there's going to be a ton of entry, or we get lots of parent squares from everything, but they'll be on Skyward too, and how to get on there and look at grades. It can send you a missing assignment report every day if you like. I would just once a week is probably sufficient. And then a great way is just on Thursday night, you guys jump on Skyward together, see if there's anything missing, and maybe that's whether they go to homework club the next week, or something happens during the weekend if they have all their assignments. So there's some really good incentives that you can give to ensure that kids are getting their schoolwork done. And the biggest thing, show up to school and just get your classwork in on time, and they will be just fine. So, and either of those are a struggle, kids at school cups are involved. We love to help. We're happy to help. And stop me if you have questions. I'm just kind of going through the ones that I saw that came in that were probably most first. Practical advice for self-confidence for a 5th grader. So feel free, anybody, to add into here too. But definitely give them some rope, get them some leash. If there's something that they really want to do, and it feels a little uncomfortable for you, but you feel okay with it, there's supervision everywhere. Give them some allowances to do things that potentially are a little uncomfortable for you, but you know that they're capable of, and that they want to do. Those are really important right now. Just to give them those opportunities to kind of figure out their individuality without mom and dad. So I promise you will thank me when they're in high school and they're more able to do their assignments and be more responsible if you give them spaces to do that now. We were having a conversation around going on leaving kids home. When's it to leave kids home? It's when you think they are ready and able, and you can even start with small times. We're talking about just walking around the block, so they feel comfortable and ready to stay home on their own. Obviously not for great lengths of time, but small blocks of time. Do if they're telling you this is something I'm comfortable with and I feel like I can do it, give them some space to show that. Any other things that you've experienced with where want to put in or just talk to?
I would say, like, if there's a lot of anxiety, just validate that anxiety. Show them you see it, you get it. And again, you don't have to take it on or believe it. This is the great thing about the understanding statements. Show them that you see them. And that's can be huge, because then they know they have a safe place where somebody gets them,
I'm working on this with my 9-year-old. If there's something that she can do, I should not be doing it for her. So really, if they can do it, they're capable, let them do it. Even if it's slower, it's not quite as clean, it's not quite as whatever you're looking for, allow them to do it at their own, because this is their learning time. And if you take that away, you're going to be doing it forever. So if you'd like to be doing it when they're a senior in high school, you just keep right on. But if they're capable of it, allow them to do it. No, this is advice there. How to plan for extracurricular activities around homework. For 6th graders, all the 0 hours, so it's in the morning, just like for 4th and 5th grade. It's from 7 to 8 in the morning, so it's a little early, but it's 7:30 now. I mean, actually, you get early schools. That's my kiddo's early school. So what time does 0 or 8? 8. Okay, so 8 to 9. Yeah, so here, yes. Okay, so it is a little bit earlier. So yes, it's from 7 to 8.
but it's so good for kids. And that connection piece, there's another one. How do I have supports for my kiddo? They fight each. Get them involved with a buddy if he can. That gets them connected to school, makes them feel comfortable around school. Anything they do with a friend, you're actually going to get them to be able to go do it. So, but give them opportunities to go try new stuff. That's going to be really helpful. But because the sports are in the morning, you don't really have to contend with that in the afternoon. But really have a good homework time, like specific. This is when we do homework. If you're at work, and this is what I expect to see when I go work, because this is what you'll get on the weekend. Put some incentives there. Sorry to say, money is the very best incentive for this age group. Gift cards. It works. Gift cards. Just saying. So if you hear bit, I know it's not exactly what we'd like to hear, but but it works. So let's see. And then supports. And like Mr. Cassidy said, please reach out. If your kid is having a hard time getting to school, having a hard time in hallways, or, you do a really good job of having kids going one way on the right, kids going the other way on the left. So it feels more regimented. So kids are, just all over the place. But if there's any issues with any of those things, or it's feeling too big, or give the counselor a call. They have an amazing counseling crew here. One's my best friend. She's just a phenomenal human. So all of them are. I'm just biased for that.
I like what you said last week, too, about middle school is the time when teachers still want to hear from you. And then in high school, they don't want to hear from you. And so you value system doing now, that's kind of act.
Yes, okay. This is also the time to teach your kid how to email their teachers. So I turn that in. You see I'm missing a sentence, turn it in. Okay, well, let's sit on and email your teacher right now. Hey, I think I turned it in. And there's going to be times where they're like, no, we don't really need to do that because they know they didn't actually try that. But they really want whatever that incentive is on the weekend. So give them a chance to be honest about things too. They'll calling them out. But that the emailing teacher and then having them kind of coaching them on how to do those things, that will really help when you get to high school too, because they do not want to they will, and they love parents, but they really want kids to be in control of their academics, which we do as well. I will say, if there's things that you want your student to do, email your teacher, and they're not getting to where you feel like is appropriate, or they need help, always step in as a parent. Always email. Adults are here to help. So it's not like, please don't email us. It's like, oh, no, please email us. We'd love your student to learn how to do that. But if you need something, let us know. So those were kind of the big questions. Other ones that you guys have or that came up in here.
And I'll be sticking around for a little bit too. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a couple questions to mind. So you mentioned for social activities, they are looking at different clubs, sports, and I feel like our daughter needs some kind of push. But how much push is a good push?
Your kid best, so trust your instincts.
Okay.
Right, first. And second, I think a safe place to push is in the no-cut sports and the no-cut activities, where everybody gets to participate, and ask them to commit 3 times. And a lot of people will want to quit, like they have a bad experience. A friend of mine taught me, you never quit on a bad day. And so don't keep them quitting, but not after a bad practice or a bad session to you. And so those kinds of things. So you commit to 3 times, because that might feel better than, oh, I've committed to this thing when I got to do it throughout, right? And if that doesn't work, fine, let's find something else. We're going to try it 3 times. So that kind of negotiation, and again, these are safe places to push, safe risks to take. So now fighting would be out of your comfort zone. Push them a little too.
If they're doing any kind of all year music class, so orchestra, band, choir, they're gonna meet buds in there that really, and finding common interests, that'll be really, really helpful. If they're not doing one of those, that's a really good time to get them into another club or a sport. And there's lots of other things besides just sports. If your kid is in the sports kid, that's totally fine. So, and the clubs,
come out on the announcements, and then they put them, I believe, on their news, then make announcements on the website as well. So they'll be hearing about clubs, but it's good for you to know too. And hey, you seen this one? And it's like, I don't want to do that. Okay, yeah, cool. And then you should think about that one. I don't want to do that. Oh, how come? Well, I don't know anybody. And then because you can kind of dig just a little bit of maybe what their hang up is about it, and it potentially is they don't think a friend will come with them. And then you could kind of brainstorm too. How would you ask somebody to come with you?
Good question. Could you have another one?
Yes, if you don't mind. So we introduce about the techniques. You can see that as a technique with points, bullet points. So there's I feel like it's more like a finding balance, right? Keep losing up and get it hold up. And sometimes A and B, so that I always have to find a balance. But how can I fit that loop for myself? That I know that I'm balancing myself. I'm doing a good job. Is from the kids, sometimes they give you a lot of signals.
They're not slamming their door. Just kidding. They're not slamming their door, They're just right. Fear them.
You feel like I'm doing all kinds of things that I'm supposed to do, but still doesn't get the effect that I want.
And how that be one? Right? And so we're recognizing where what we want may be different from what our adolescents want, right? And so that can influence it. Balance is a tricky thing that I think is always something that we have to recalibrate. And we think of our bandwidth and how much bandwidth we have, because our bandwidth is finite. And what's being up the bandwidth, and what can you do if we're noticing that it's not balanced? Did that answer your question? I didn't.
Yeah, I think kind of, because this is more, I would say it's more art than science.
Absolutely. And I think too, like, depending on how things are going generally, we're going to have more bandwidth at sometimes than we are at others, right? And so if something happened with a big friendship that's not going very well, your bandwidth is going to get eaten up by that. And so maybe badminton isn't as cool for the next couple of weeks, right? But if we don't quit on a bad day and we give it a couple of times and we'll come back to it, then maybe when our bandwidth isn't eaten up by something else, our balance is different. So balance is always shifting. And so it's hard to like have universal statements, because it's always, but trust your instincts and listen to your kids. Believe the words they're telling. Tell them that. They're going to be able to lie to us, and they're good at it. Don't expect them not to. But I think if we tell them, I'm going to believe the words you're telling me, that gets you off the hook. You don't have to try and figure it out. That's going to make them think about the words that they're using.
I heard this really great thing. A complaint from a teenager is an unmet need. Yeah. And I'm like, if you look at any one of their complaints and then really get it back to something that they need or want, and then I'll point in on that, because the complaint and the whining is going to get you and frustrate you, but then really think about what exactly is the need here.
As a parent, give yourself grace. Absolutely. You're balancing work. You're balancing her relationship with your spouse. You're balancing how many children that you have, right? And being a parent is not being a friend. Yeah, I mean, but kids need structure. They need to know where that boundary is, and you got to push them to a certain sense. That's where the trick is. I think for everyone is different, your relationship with a child, their personality, and that's where you got to be open. I am completely vulnerable to my kid about I made mistakes, right? And I regretted it, or I been bullied once as a kid, right? And I didn't like it, right? So that's why I do lessons to be sure. So you got to find what's right for you and what's authentic to you, but you got to give yourself grace that you're doing the right things, right? And your child will not always love. Well, they won't say at times, I don't love you or I hate you or whatever. But if you're doing it from a good spot, you're good.
You might not see the benefits for, months or years later. It's not immediate positive feedback, but
There's a British psychologist in the 60s that came up with this idea of a good enough parent. And I love it because our community, our society right now sets the bar for parenting really, really high. And I don't know about you all, but like there's no shame and guilt that goes along with trying to meet what society is telling you I need to do as a parent. But if we provide basic needs for our kids, if we're paying attention to them, if we're keeping them safe and we have somewhat of a relationship, that is all they need. They don't need anything else to be successful in their life. And so the bar for parenting is not as high as we think it is. It's actually quite low. And all of you in here tonight, you're a step ahead of a good enough parent because you're here and you're working to develop a greater understanding and come up with new skills. So if you ever worry about how you're doing as a parent, the bar is low. You are already exceptional.
Get rid of social media. I'm so much happier without.
Out.
I kick without.
Oh, thank you for saying that. I'm 100% don't have it.
As an adult, I'm happier. My wife is happier without it. My kids don't have it, so they have no idea what they're missing, which is wonderful. Because social media is just a cesspool, and it sets unrealistic expectations.
For every imaginary audience becomes real.
Yeah. Really big. It's scary.
Really big. And it also, people gravitate towards tribalists, right? I'm only the people I want to, not diverse opinions, right? And that's not healthy either, right? I want my kids to be challenged by different people, experience different things. So you don't get that social media, right? You will comfort levels or comfort zones. Sorry, I'm not an FRA, but I'm just sure.
Right. It's good because she's from Parents Ecap because, you're experiencing it right now. And I'm reading the book Anxious Generation. Such a great book. It's very great. Yeah. Cut Them is also a really fantastic book. That's actually, you just can read that. I've heard of that book. Yeah. Oh my goodness. And it, for students too, I hope that she writes one for teenagers because it's such a great way to let people do what they're doing so you can do what you need to do. But the Anxious Generation really talks about how much of their individuality is created in that up to 14. And with all the values and things that we had as a family and with learning social things and with academics, all of those things up until 14 are just really, and so with social media, if they get locked in earlier than 14, a lot of that individuality goes to whatever that is that they're watching. And it's not helping them grow as an individual. It's helping them look at what other people are doing. I don't understand that I'm going to watch somebody do one crap or I don't understand. But kids like it. And it's doing this weird thing in their brain where it's doing all stimulation. It's stimulating their brain and giving them dopamine. But should we talk about that?
Dopamine Nation's a great book too. I remember that. But that's, I did not talk about client.
Dopamine hits are kind of what adolescents are all about too. So,
and they're popular.
Yes, the less that you can, have those just massive hits because just like with, any other addiction, it's the big high and it's the drop. And you see that with behaviors and being really angry and upset, agitated.
You recalibrate too. You try and take it away. You recalibrate to excessive levels of dopamine have an impact, right? And the more that dopamine's required, the less smaller things happen.
Anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, all of those go up when there's really high levels of dopamine. So
the best decision we made as parents, my wife and I decided to be happy. We gave our kids tablets, right? And we put like the freeware games on it. And when we actually started watching what they were doing, it's like a rabbit hole, like a game to another game to another game. And it's all like just quick hit attentions, that dopamine rush, and taking away was horrible. We had an honest conversation saying, we don't like what this is doing for you. We deleted all of the apps on the tablet. Don't even touch the tablet anymore.
And I'm up your baby. The demeanor is better. Yeah. And yes, who wouldn't want it? It's that dopamine hit. What's this really feels well okay. Oh. Other questions?
Thank you all for sending this here.
Yeah. And I'll be here. Thanks for coming. Differing or BTS. Yeah, I'll probably be here if you have a question.
Yeah. And love any feedback that you have and that too. And thank you, Greta and the City Cade for us tonight. So thank you and cookies and water and babette. So really, I just appreciate our partnership so much.
Yeah, and you mentioned the parent support group for Hero and Reverse Kiddos. We plan to offer that several times next school year. So if you're interested in that, we have a wait list that you can connect with me, and I can get you on that too. Think about it for next year. Really helpful for supporting parents and families with Frogger STEM.
We're thinking probably in October to run another or something like this. Here you are. How's it going? And so we can, connect again and connect as parents and just, I'm struggling with this. I need that just to give that extra touch and support too. So, thanks so much.
Don't, Kiki, but take it easy. Can you see?